Welcome, we're back with something a little bit different this time. If you're like me and have an endless sea of alts just collecting dust and you just never know what to do with them, well, I thought I'd give myself a little bit of a challenge. How far can I pug in just 24 hours? Now look, I'm not trying to clickbait you and pretend I sat here and bathed in my own filth for 24 hours straight. Let's be real, I'm old now. Between life, responsibilities, and my parents walking in my room mid-dungeon to ask me what I want for dinner, it's just not possible for me to do this in one sitting. So, this is going to be 24 hours of playtime total, spread over a few days of playing. All solo, no premades, just the pure solo pugging experience. God, I'm going to regret this. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Obey. I do fun and somewhat educational 0 to hero content, picking a fresh character and pugging all the way to Keystone hero. Tank, DPS, healer, I've done it all. For this one, I'm dusting off my Blood Death Knight from Season 1. No big expectations and barely any recent practice. The whole point of this is to show that Mythic Plus isn't that scary. With a little bit of knowledge and confidence, you can push way higher than you'd ever expect. Don't worry though, I'll be giving advice along the way so you can do the same. Just a little side note, this video took ages to make. It was so bad, I was going to bed thinking about my wives. So if you make it to the end of the video, you're not only supporting my channel, you're also supporting my mental health. Alright, the time is ticking, so let's just jump right into this. The first hour of this challenge is just prepping for Mythic Plus. First stop is at the Warbound Bank. I'm picking up a Warbound back. Sadly, this is all I had. But if you have a stockpile of gear to use, you are already miles ahead of me. Next, pick up your weekly quest, fast gear, and just free gold. Then you want to quickly go to all your reputation factions to collect as many coffer keys and low level crests as possible. Once we did that, we wasted no time jumping into a bountiful tier 8 delve. If you want gear fast, this is the place to be. I mean, just look at the jackpot we hit in our first delve. A delve bounty, this will guarantee us a hero track piece in our next delve. We also got some boots and a necklace. But first, we need more keys, so quickly getting them weeklies done and buying a key from Mr. Murloc made it so we had 3 bountiful delves to do. But this time, we are running it on tier 11. These are way harder than tier 8s, but they also drop gilded crest. These are crucial to craft better gear, but we will talk about that a bit later. For now, let's talk about what we got from the delves. Just from our first tier 11 delve, we got 40 crest and a hero track trinket, and some pants. The next two was just some shoulders and a ring. So after an hour of farming, we was looking like this going into our first Mythic Plus. Now, the goal is just to spam my old key and quickly try and get to 7s. This way, we can farm both hero track gear and gilded crest, but these lower keys are nothing to scoff at. Believe it or not, depending on the group, these bad boys can be harder than 12s. Everyone's got a story. Your tanks run in and died, your DPS are just straight up walking into death, and then the healer is just having a mental breakdown in the corner.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently.
But like I was saying, my goal is to skip these lower keys as quickly as possible. That meant pulling big, but not going too insane. Well, all that went out the window straight away, because 1 minute I'm fighting this, and I blink, and pow, I'm fighting the entire first area. Luckily for us, we had some beefy boys sign up for our key, so these kind of pulls are child's play. We easily 2-chested this key, we got no loot, but we did get a 4 floodgate. Again, 4s are not much different from 2s. The mobs are slightly harder, but now they throw an affix into the mix, which is normally dealt with ease, unless your group is either legally blind or mentally ill. I also wasn't letting up on the pool sizes. These are the same ones I will be doing in 13s, and I think it's good to get the practice in now in these lower keys. Learning to survive the gather and grouping up the pack nicely for your group to maximize their damage is a core mechanic to learn as a tank. Everyone was pumping in this key, so we easily 3-chested it. Now, if my math is correct, 4 plus 3 equals 7. This means we will need to do a bit of upgrading before jumping in. 7s are a little bit tougher than 4s, but this is where the magic happens. This is the sweet spot for alts. You can farm gilded crest and hero track gear, but don't be a dickhead. Still give yourself a little boost with some tempered pots. I had these left over from last season. Usually the chaos potions are the best one for my class, but this will work for now. I can't lie, I was a little bit worried going into this dungeon. Being only 631 eye level, I had some doubt if we could even live this first pack. Let's see how we get on. I guess we had nothing to worry about. That was easy as hell. We didn't even use Lust either. The quality of players also increase as you get into 7s, so you can easily execute skips like this to save even more time in the dungeon. Even though I'm a little undergeared, I was still pulling with confidence. But that's just it, you can't hesitate on Blood Death Knight. As Ishin once said, hesitation is defeat. Your ability to group up mobs is next to amazing. Combining Abomination Limb and Death Grip to easily control the mobs around you is one of the main reasons why I fell in love with Blood Death Knight in Season 1. That and the constant health spike. Yeah, it's terrifying, but it's also kind of thrilling too. Once you settle into the rhythm, you're basically unkillable. The only other scary bit about this dungeon was Gorechop. His tank buster was slapping me up big time. Hell, there was moments where I thought I was a goner, but once Gorechop was out the way, we still had 13 minutes to finish off the final boss. And with the clean sheet still on the board, it was looking like we would easily two-chest it. And we did, but we didn't keep the clean sheet. We also got no loot once again. With the server going down in 11 minutes, I just called it a night. At the start of day 2, we had a lot of stuff to get done. Not only did we have a vault to open, but we're also just one dungeon away from getting our cartel chip, which meant we could finally buy one of our best in slot trinkets. But before we get to that, we made a quick stop at Mr. Murloc again, this time to pick up a scrambler. If you use this next to the stone in any delve, you guarantee yourself a free delve bounty every week. Sadly, we didn't get anything we could convert into a set piece, but we did get 10 gilded crests, a hero trap back, and champion tier boots. Because it was a new week, quests have reset, so we spent the next 30 minutes spamming time walking dungeons. Once you complete 5 dungeons, you will receive a hero track raid piece, and lucky for us, we hit the jackpot. Straight up got one of our best in slot trinkets. But here is where I make a massive error. Instead of just recrafting my weapon from last season, like the dumbass I am, I dropped the 10k we earned from all the quests we've done on the same materials I had already owned. So now we're broke again.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
At least now we're looking like this going into a 7 Dark Flame Cleft. The goal was still the same. Pull big and time these as fast as we can, so we can quickly get some gear and crest. Unfortunately, my teammates had other plans. Not only was they butt pulling extra mobs, they wasn't doing the core mechanics on the bosses, nearly making us fully wipe. But we all know Blood Death Knights are strong independent people who don't need no healer to survive. The crisis was averted, but we trolled once again a bit later in the dungeon. And when I say we, I mean me. After finishing off the horror mob, I ran ahead to pull the next pack. What I didn't realise though, is that I had 12 stacks of creeping shadows, and with no racial and only little legs, I couldn't make it to the candle in time, so I died. It sucks, but it wasn't a big deal. We still easily two-chested the dungeon. We also got some loot, but it wasn't an upgrade. Speaking of upgrades, now we have completed our 4th dungeon, we can finally grab our 2nd best in slot trinket. I have no idea if this was the correct choice, but I love this trinket so I grabbed it anyway. With all these new and improved items, I was feeling confident, and maybe a little bit too confident. Our loot was looking good, and our timer was looking even better. The nerves were gone, so I started to relax, and naturally, this came to bite me in the next pull. You have to be sharp when playing Blood DK. If you're not focusing on your bone shields and making sure you stood in death and decay, stuff can start to get a little bit dicey. Thankfully, this death didn't turn into a wiping spree, but it was pretty damn close. We also still timed the key with 5 minutes to spare, but this was a massive wake up call. We also got some loot, so now we're rocking a 2 set, but we are also running into a bit of an issue. Because we're spamming 7s, there's no way of us getting ruined undermined crest. Hitting this wall this early on is a real kicker. Not being able to level up our hero track gear might be a problem, but we'll leave tomorrow's problems to tomorrow's me. For now, let's focus on getting gear and fast. In the next dungeon, at 7 Rookery, I made a fatal mistake. Instead of using Marrow Rend while my dancing rune weapon is active, instead I let my bone shield slowly get chipped away, and because I popped during the first pull in the dungeon, once my bone shield depleted, I was a sitting duck. My team still had confidence in me though. They kept aggroing mobs even though I was fighting for my life on every single pull. But honestly, that's the thrill I'm here for. Sometimes throwing yourself into the deep end makes you a better player. Yeah, you might die, you might wipe the group, but you learn from it. We nearly choked on the final boss, but it was only a few % from dying when things got a little bit hairy. So we timed the key with 3 minutes to spare. We got no loot, but the timer was still ticking, so we wasted no time jumping into the next dungeon. And then this evoker showed up. It was only a matter of time before we started running into these idiots. So let's take a moment to talk about this damn evoker. Not only was he refusing to move away from the bombs on the first boss, he blew himself up on the second boss. Then after getting reds, he stood in the open and died again. But the icing on the cake, he quit the group. I don't usually care about this stuff, but the time being so tight, it was really annoying. He was also our top DPS, so after he left, all the damage was just coming from the DK. I would talk shit about this mage as well, but he stuck around, so I'll let it slide this time. But there's going to be some future beef with other mages, so stay tuned for that. We obviously failed the key, but it was super tight, just missing it by 30 seconds. The real kicker though was that I got no loot. Fortunately though, the next dungeon was super fast and we got a massive upgrade, so that made up for all that lost time. That being said, we are running super low on cash. My plan wasn't to send myself gold, but I donated myself a small loan of 50k gold. By the end of this journey, we only end up spending 30k of it, but we really needed it. I was trying to farm in between dungeons, but the amount of time and effort just wasn't worth the amount of gold we was getting. Are you kidding me? Now we are reaching the 17-hour mark. It was time to start pushing a little bit harder. The eye level was good and the confidence was high, but holy shit was this first pull scary. Not only is it a pain in the ass to gather, I'm also worried about threat. So I started to panic, and instead of just focusing on hitting the right buttons, I instead started smashing my head into my keyboard, hoping I wouldn't die. Yeah, we did pop, but at least we didn't die. Because the key level is getting higher, it's requiring me to plan what I'm going to pull next. That means I will need to save long cooldown abilities such as Dancing Rune Weapon for when I gather the next pack. But because I'm holding on to these core abilities, I'm also putting myself at risk of dying. These back-to-back wallops was giving me PTSD, and if this went on any longer, I was dead. It turns out the next pull wasn't even that scary, so all that worrying was for nothing. This group was great. So great that not only did we 2-chest it, there also wasn't a single death the entire dungeon. We got no loot, but we did get an 11 Cinderbrew. Before we send it though, I want to go in feeling 100%. So that means catalysting our champion level gear.
Brother,
I know, it sucks, but it needs to be done. Because at this rate, we can't just keep spamming these lower keys and hoping we get some hero trap pieces. So with the 11 Cinderbrew locked and loaded, we just sent it. It got a bit scary at the end there, but with this pull out the way, there wasn't that many pulls I was scared of. My life did flash before my eyes during the IPA boss when I realised I had no escape, but my teammates saw I was a damsel in distress and paved the way for me so I could safely kite the boss away from the ads. Up next though was another difficult pack. I was sending everything I had, from temper pots all the way to my trinkets, but despite sending all that stuff, the damage output was just way too much and I ended up popping. But I didn't panic. I just safely interrupted the volley and made sure the pack stayed grouped up. If I started to run here, not only would I have probably ended up dying, the overall DPS output would have dropped. Sometimes you just gotta stand your ground and believe your teammates will kill this pack before you kick the bucket. Unfortunately for us, they did. My two teammates did end up dying before the B boss, but it didn't stop us from timing this key with 5 minutes to spare. We got a ring upgrade plus a 12 Theatre of Pain. I don't feel confident going into 12s just yet, so let's keep farming 10s until we have enough crest to craft us some better gear. So we just kept pushing, closing out 2 10s and securing our best in slot boots. We also did some tier 11 delves, mainly for some ruined crest and gilded. It was also getting really late, so we closed out day 2, happy and looking like this. Once we returned, we didn't slow down. Still 2-chesting keys and still getting no loot. Someone was nice enough to donate us a piece though, and we wasted no time turning that bad boy into a set piece. We also crafted a back, so now we're looking like a real character walking into an 11 Theatre of Pain. I bitched out and downgraded the 12, and honestly, it was a good thing I did, because of this mage. Not only did he die early on the first boss, he was also doing 0 damage. He didn't use Lust either, so I was forced to take a different route. But then he died again at the start of the next pull. What really pissed me off though, he messed up our skip. Not only did he just ignore my countdown, pings, and giant glowing marker, he ran early, causing an ad to trigger before we could even make it through. So between the ignoring pings, lack of damage, and awful Lust timer, I just had enough. and ran the dungeon as a 10. That key was just destined to fail, and I'm not enduring that pain again. The team difference was night and day. Not only did we lust on the first boss, I could actually do the route I'm used to, and lust on bosses I find more difficult. And because people was actually pressing their buttons and not dying on every pack, we easily two-chested the key. We also got a ring upgrade, but that will soon be replaced. With only 12 hours on the clock, it was time we started to push a bit harder. So we sent the 12 floodgate. I know I said I'd be giving advice, but I've actually not given any yet. So let's talk Blood Death Knight. This isn't my main, so my understanding isn't perfect, but I'm going to explain it how I know it. Your main cooldown is Dancing Rune Weapon. It gives you a bunch of Bone Shield and turns you into Prime Muhammad Ali. While it's up, you want to send Bone Storm and Tombstone, because each Bone Shield you consume reduces the cooldown of Dancing Rune Weapon. Your main mitigation tool is Bone Shield, and I suck at keeping this up. I get Tunneled Vision spamming Half Strike while Dancing Rune Weapon is up, and forget about Marrowrend. Marrowrend is a perfect ability. It eats up 2 runes but gives you Bone Shields and generates runic power. Never let your Bone Shield stacks drop below 6. That's the danger zone. In a perfect world, you'd want to chill around 10 to 12 stacks. Vampiric Blood is another big one. Use it on cooldown. It gives max HP and boosts your overall healing. You can reduce its cooldown by spamming Death Strike too. Speaking of Death Strike, we all know what it does. Take big damage, press this to heal. Just make sure you have enough runic power. That's enough for now, but the one thing to remember, keep Bone Shield up, or else this happens. It took us ages to get the threat back, but once we did, we hit him with the my bad and moved on with our day. This little hiccup didn't stop us from pulling like a madman. In these sort of keys, you need to do large pulls, otherwise you just never time it. And with just 6 minutes left in the dungeon, it was looking like we was. But then, the classic happened. A DPS stole my goddamn puddle. To be fair, as a Blood Death Knight, this really isn't a big deal. And with 2 abilities that basically make you immortal to Thunder Punch, you'd think I would be chilling. But once I saw that bouncing ball of death hunting me down, panic set in. And instead of using my anti-magic shield and Death's Advance, instead I took the punch straight to the Chrome Dome, and it was only a matter of seconds before I hit the canvas. There was a heated discussion about this in the chat, but at the end of the day, it was on me. Adapting to your teammates is a skill. I should have realised these fuckers would have continued to rob my puddles, and I did. I just didn't press any of the buttons that would have saved my life. We still carried on and timed the key with 40 seconds to spare. We also got no loot, but that's just a classic at this point. 12 hours in and we're still rocking Season 1 Heroic wrist and Veteran head. Like, come on. And Champion pants. This is getting ridiculous now. Oh, and bloody Season 1 belt. Oh my god, I completely forgot about that. And 11 Motherload. Now, I hate this dungeon. Honestly, it's so goddamn hard as a Blood Death Knight. This was a fast dungeon, so let's waste no time here. First pack, clean. Then we failed the skip and wiped. Got to the second pack, and again, I let Bone Shield drop and got one banged by the Peacekeeper. The Druid was mad, so we ran it back as a 10. And I didn't make the same mistake this time, but this happened. Fuck me, so strong. Yeah, I let Bone Shield drop again. You should be used to this by now. You'd think I'd learn from my mistakes, but no. As a VDH main, I didn't realise how hard this guy was until now, but it felt like I stepped into the ring with Prime Mike Tyson with a knife. He was slashing me up so hard, I had no idea which way to run. Even with the 2 whites, we still easily two-chested this dungeon. We got no loot, but I did apologise for my awful gameplay. On the way to pick up our ring from the cartel, the Evoker hit us up asking me to tank a 12 Rookery. I probably should have declined once I saw that Mage was in the group. I just knew we weren't going to time this key. Rookery's got a tight timer. If you're not killing fast, you're not going to make it. And I was right. By the second pull, the damage was already looking bad. It didn't help that just before the first boss, my internet died. By the time I got back, almost 2 minutes had passed. The first boss then took 2 years to kill, so by the time we got downstairs, there was only 18 minutes left in the dungeon. I also ended up dying on this pack. Again, I let my bone shield drop. I'm so fixated on where the mobs are that I didn't even realise my bones are evaporating. The pack also didn't reset, and after a few minutes, the Warlock had the right idea and just Gareth bailed. Honestly, I wanted to leave the whole time, but the Evoker asked me personally, so I felt obligated to tank. We ran back a 10 Priory just for IO rating. We finally got some loot, but it wasn't an upgrade. We only needed one more 10 to complete all the dungeons, and that dungeon was a 10 Rookery. Little did I know, I got debated into a 12. I mean, I wasn't complaining. I needed the IO, but I didn't even realise it was a 12 until I almost died on this pack. After that, I was locked in. We learnt from our mistakes in the last dungeon, so I knew what to do. This group was actually doing good damage, so it was 100% possible to time. And even though we lacked a lust, we had something even better. Experience. No matter what eye level you are, skill and experience trumps everything. Pulls that used to feel scary are now easy. Hell, we was even pulling the double diffusers without lust and still coming out on top.
Nice.
We are the perfect tank for the second boss. Using anti-magic shield at the right time can completely stop the dot from spreading to your group. Each one of us was playing out of our mind. Nothing but good damage and good vibes, so we made it to the final packs with 11 minutes left. And with just 18 seconds left to 2-chest the dungeon, we just had to lock in even harder. Even without a loss, we still 2-chested a 12. That just proves if you have a good route and teammates that can actually do damage, you can easily time these keys. We got no loot once again, but the vibes were good, so we ran back another 12 with the same group. But first, we made a pit stop and finally got rid of our Season 1 wrist. The first pull was a bit shaky, so I just let this one play out. Bit of a rough start. Because there was no butt pulls like our last Dark Flame Cleft, I could actually do my route. What I wasn't prepared for was doing this skip. If you didn't know, I took a month and a half break from this game, came back and the routes had completely changed. So after we killed the final boss, I still wasn't at 100%, but it wasn't a big deal. We cleaned up an extra pack and still easily 2-chested it. And guess what? We finally got some loot. Yes! Come on, let's go! In the world, boys. Finally getting rid of our veteran gear, one step at a time. Boom. With our new gear, we jumped into our first 13, and of course it was a motherload. This dungeon was over before it even started. I'm so scared of the second pack in this dungeon that I ended up holding cooldowns when I should have been sending them. There was also way too many casts going off, and instead of just focusing on myself, I let my mind wander for a second and I was dead before I could even say death strike. With no lust and no cooldowns, the chances of recovering this was 0. That is why I don't like mages. 5 million damage. The pull was going on for 44 seconds. He says it right there, 44 seconds. And he did 5 mil damage. I mean, he's not to blame. We would have died anyway. I got absolutely one-banged by that assassin. But I don't know if it was just a bad beam or what, but they just had so many fucking casts going off. And the second that Fan and Knives went off, it just one-banged me. Alright, doesn't seem like I'm getting invited to any keys, so I might just call it a night there. I mean, we could try and do my 12 motherload again, but I'm super hungry, it's getting kind of late, and I'm getting kind of tired. With 9 hours left on the clock, there was only one option: spam 13s. If we're gonna hit 3k, we've just gotta send it. But first, we gotta send our 12 motherload. We failed this dungeon one too many times now, but each time we do it, we just keep getting better. The only thing I actually hate about this pull is that you need to kick. And because I'm just a DK and don't have an AoE silence, I just have to watch every cast go off. Your boy's out here throwing out every CC ability I can, praying someone else finds their kick button. When I saw that druid drop, my heart went with him. I thought, here we go again. Another wipe and back to an 11. But surprisingly, we pulled through. Pretty touch and go there for a second, but we lived. I took a different approach on the second pack. Instead of pulling the ones on the left, I went for the Fug pack on the right instead, purely because it has one less kick to worry about. So as long as I get the poison knife kick, we are basically being chilling. I even learned my lesson with stabbing Mike Tyson. When he starts slashing, I start dashing. I know people struggle in this area, but as long as you ping and tell your team to stack and move, you actually can easily deal with this pack. Just make sure you pop a defensive during Mind Lash and you'll be good. Unfortunately, I have no tips for this boss. This dude is secretly the hardest boss in the game. Almost every time I fight it, it doesn't matter if it's a 5 or a 15. This motherfucker slaps. My only advice is once he stops spraying that gun, you better pop every defensive you got. I probably went a little bit overboard when I saw that message. Yeah, not my finest pull. We did only end up getting one death, but it just wasn't even worth it because we still didn't end up 2-chesting the key. Oh, and we got no loot either.
You're joking.
13 Mechagon. Unironically, the easiest dungeon this season. Yet I still seem to find the worst players to ever touch this game. You know they're blind when they're getting slashed up by these blades. But what's even worse, not a single person can find their kick button. And within all this chaos, I'm needing to take my focus away from staying alive in order to stop these tactical nukes from going off. I shouldn't have really died here, but Jesus Christ, can someone just kick? Things just kept going downhill from here. They was just dying to the most basic stuff.
Bro, these guys fucking suck.
Not only was they refusing to move from the swirls, they also just wasn't using their kit properly. The whole reason I got this warlock was because of the portal skips, but instead, he was just dead weight. Let's not forget about this mage. My god, was this mage bad. Not only was they dealing no damage, they basically died on every single pack. I mean, just look at this gameplay. You can't make it up. They're legit running into the beams.
Oh my word. These guys are horrible.
But the real nail in the coffin for me was this bit. The man had one job. Place the portal, and he couldn't even do that.
Such a bad pull. I swear I was going to pull.
I just had enough at this point. I don't normally flame people, but Jesus Christ, something needed to be said. This is a goddamn 13 for crying out loud. I mean, just look at their score. You'd assume they would know how to do basic stuff like place a portal and not run into beams. But no. The deaths still continued, and again, it was still to the most basic stuff. It got to the point where I didn't even battle res the mage again, because I thought my melee healer would die to a range ability. He didn't, so we finally used it on the mage. We obviously failed the key, but just look at that damage. Embarrassing. So now we're back to 12s. No point wasting your time here, let's just jump into a 13 Cinderbrew. We all know this first pull is tough. There's a lot of dots and that boiling flame can hurt like a bitch if left unchecked. But if we make it through this, the key is basically free. Or so I thought. Once we got to the first boss, this healer couldn't heal the dot to save his life. Or should I say, our teammates' lives. Not only that, the DPS were just allergic to pressing their defensive button. But what just really rattled me was not only did they die so much on the first boss, they watched me fight it for 6 minutes straight, to then slowly exit once I cleaned it up. The sheer audacity to not only troll my key, but to say sorry and Gareth Bale after watching me fight the boss for 6 minutes was just something else.
They come in, troll, leave. Sorry about your key. Fucking just leave during the boss fight if you don't want to continue. Why make me fight it? I could have just ran out the dungeon myself.
Daddy, chill.
It was my own fault though for accepting a free stack. But I mean, just look at their stats. How could I not? So now it was back to yet another 12. With 6 hours left and not a single 13 timed, I was starting to feel hopeless. But it's not over until it's over. 13 Motherload. We all know this song and dance by now. Tank goes in, DPS don't kick, and tank dies. Well, the tune was the same, but the lyrics were a little bit different this time. I was still spamming my CC abilities, but so was my group. And are my eyes deceiving me? Or are we actually doing damage?
Now that's a lot of damage!
The hopes were pretty high going into this second pack. As long as I got the kick and survived the mega punches from the Peacekeeper, we were in the clear. It got a bit shaky towards the end, but now the dungeon was smooth sailing. Except for this boss. My ass was still taking a pounding from this dude.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
But with that out of the way, the key was easily timed. We also had enough crest to finally get rid of our season 1 belt, and with the lucky eye level number, I just knew we was in for a good one in this 14 Fear of Pain. Yeah, you heard that right, 14. I don't even care at this point. If we're gonna fail, we might as well go down swinging. Honestly, that first boss was way easier than I expected. Because we also blasted, we had perfect lust timing, so I finally got to do my spicy lust pull. This one can get a little sketchy if you don't kick, but as long as you stay calm, stack, and use your CC abilities, you can deal with this pack with no problems. I also learned how to deal with Go Chop. Once he bops me, I just immediately death strike, and I'm bing chilling. We did end up failing the skip at the end. I wasn't too sure if I made it through. I was originally just going to kill the mini boss, but my team said die, so I did. As for Zav, the only thing you gotta do is kill the banner. And as for his tank buster, as long as you have a defensive running, you're basically unkillable. Just make sure you kill that banner ASAP, or you will wipe. With 5 minutes left coming into the final boss, I decided to play it safe and burn an extra few seconds on these ads. I know for sure I can't tank both, so taking a deep breath and not rushing into it is always the best option. As for the final boss, it's pretty damn easy. Pop an anti-magic shield and death's advance. Not only will you not spawn an ad on you, you also won't get pulled in with your group, so you can just hang back and grip in the mobs once they all spawn. As for the second phase, it's basically the same thing but with horses. My advice is, if you see the horses spawn and not 100% sure if you're safe, stop pressing your damage buttons for a few seconds, look and get to safety. You dropping damage for a few seconds beats dying every single time. Everyone played well this key, so we easily timed it. We also got our best in slot pants and a motherload. With 4.5 hours left, my goal was just to get the hard keys out the way, and just coming off of 14, I was feeling super confident. I was even pulling packs I wouldn't normally do on Blood DK, and still coming out on top. I also heard the routes have changed. People are normally doing Big Mama second now with Lust, which is understandable, she is pretty rough, but I don't think it's needed in a 13. As long as people bait towards the wall and stairs, you can easily cleave down the ads. As for the giant orb, just send it the other way. Even when you move the boss, the plan is still the same. Try your best to bait the ad so they don't fly away, and aim the orb away from the group. As for the tank buster, if you don't have anti-magic shield, just pop a defensive instead. It kinda hurts, so make sure you're locked in. But like I said at the start of the video, even though it's a 13, pulls don't change, and pulls like this should be easy for the group. As long as they're not stood in the Beyblades, the actual damage going out on the group is basically zero. The next pack, however, is pretty tough. Just make sure you use a defensive during Warp Blood and focus him down as fast as possible. As for the Architect packs, just make sure you have Threat before pulling the next set of mobs. Also, because we had a Warlock, we can easily skip the 2 Shreddinators. This is a massive time saver. As for the duo boss, all I do as a tank is make sure to line up Mr. Dum Dum with the Bomb Bomb. Unfortunately, my team didn't utilize this, so almost every rotation of bombs was a complete mess. Hell, it even started to get a little sketchy towards the end. But we killed the boss and moved on with our lives. As for the Swamp Boy, using a defensive on the tank buster and instantly death striking afterwards makes this boss brain dead easy. As for the slappy whack whack ability, throw down an AMZ and pray your healer can press his buttons. Now it's time for the real boss of the dungeon, Bubbles. Even after death this dude was taking out my teammates. Seeing that we had 8 minutes left in this dungeon, I didn't go too insane with the final pulls. There was zero chance of 2 chests in it, so it's best just to play it safe and not put anyone in serious danger. As for the final boss, I've now been saving my anti-magic shield for the second Thunder Punch, mainly because these fuckers always steal my puddle. So if that does happen, I can just use Death's Advance and anti-magic shield and not need to worry about if I can survive it or not. It's always good to ping which pool you're going to, but even when you do that, your teammates are still going to try and rob you, so be cautious. We easily timed the key and jumped into a 13 Dark Flame Cleft. I'm not going to bore you with this dungeon, I'm so over it at this point. Now this is where the real entertainment begins. I'm just going to be brutally honest, with this pull I'm punching way above my weight class. Not only do I have no experience with this pull, there's just so much going on. There's mobs jumping away, swirls coming down, and blades of death constantly looking for their next victim. But what really makes me lose focus is these damn interrupts. So I get hit by a swirl, and a few seconds later, I die. I did try and recover the pack, but honestly, I couldn't even emotionally recover from the last death. So I died again. Our next dungeon wasn't any better either. To be honest, I thought I played the gather pretty well. It can be a bit tricky, but I barely took any damage. And once we settled in, I thought we was going to lust and blast this knight down. But that just never happened. I mean, we did use lust, but I guess the damage was so low we couldn't even kill the knight before I kicked the bucket. I even said to focus the knight in the chat too. With these back-to-back fails, I was seriously doubting if this was possible. And when I popped again on the first pull in the rookery, I thought it was going to be game over. But I just took my own advice and went slow and steady. You don't always need to go crazy on pulls. Just pulling what you and your teammates can survive is normally the best option. And we just kept that up, taking the pack slow and not pulling in any dangerous mobs because that's what you should do. Just minimizing deaths and maximizing damage is all you need to complete 13s. We easily timed this key, but we had a rogue who was pumping super hard. And with that out of the way, we bought another best in slot trinket and leveled it to the max. But with just 3 hours left, it was looking pretty bleak.
Honestly, if we can't get one in 10 minutes left, we honestly might have to start looking for 12s, which is not ideal. I did want to get all 13s done, at least, because I feel like that would be a good achievement to get. But honestly, if we can't get invited and the time's ticking down, we might have to just send what we can.
I hate it just as much as you do, but we're just straight up getting declined, and with the timer only going down, we just need to blast these keys. And 10 minutes later, we sent a 12 mecha gun. I took the first area slower this time, only pulling 2 of these packs and pulling in the third once they was below half HP. The rest of the dungeon went pretty smooth, so smooth that we almost 2-jested it, but being so fixated on the timer, I didn't look where I was swinging around my frontal and quit scope my paladin in the backline. We still timed it, and we got an unexpected 45 IO rating just from this key.
What the fuck? We got 45 IO rating for that. I thought we'd get like 20.
We were still getting denied from 13s, so we just sent another 12 priory. We ended up messing up our rotation during the gather, so I just took way too much damage going in. But can we just talk about this healer for a second? This dude just straight up wasn't healing me, or just went AFK. I only have little legs, so there's no way a Blood DK can outrun his group. So before we could even settle in, I popped and then died. I did try and recover the pack, but we ended up getting super unlucky. For some reason, this pack was just refusing to be kited. So after a few seconds, we ended up butt pulling the other deadly pack. But the cherry on top, the mini boss came running in and just one banged me.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I mean, I'm not trying to blame the healer here, but when you only have 9 seconds on your main damage mitigation, you know, it's pretty embarrassing. I swear that guy did not pain sup me though. I don't think he's even used pain sup once. I don't even see it on the list. What was he dealing damage? How was he? Really? Bro, I've played Priest, and it's not normally like that. I swear. You deal damage to do damage, from my understanding. You heal damage by dealing damage, from my understanding. But that guy was doing nothing to heal nothing.
Yeah, I really don't get what was happening in that dungeon. Maybe it was just cursed. The next one, however, went pretty clean. Not only did we easily deal with the first pull, we was executing skips and pulling all the correct mobs. Once dealing with this pack, I normally take the ones by the stairs with the pack at the bottom, and then after that, it's the pack on the right with the little soldiers. You'd think this would aggro the mini boss, but it actually doesn't. She only gets aggroed once one of the mobs dies. As for the mini boss, once she gets low, I pull these casters in, and by the time you dealt with that, the next mini boss is running in. But then you just pull in with a little pack just before the first boss. Speaking of the first boss, we got really unlucky. Because we had lust up for the next pack, I was trying to save some cooldowns for a big pull, but as soon as the boss died, I ended up popping. If I wasn't on a time crunch, I would have just sent it, but I just took my own advice again and went slow and steady. The only other difficult part is this mini boss. This dude hurts like hell, so I would recommend using every defensive you have. The actual final boss isn't that tough, so you really don't need to hang on to them. As for the final boss, there's not much advice I can give. If you want to slow down the ads as much as possible, you can use blinding sleep to slow them down, but he's super buggy and your teammates normally hit him. You can also slow them down with Death and Decay and then just kite to the other end of the room. And with that key finished, we finally reached 3000 IO. But I'm still not happy. We still have 3 dungeons to get done, and with just an hour and a half left, can we do it? Let's find out. 13 Cinderbrew. We've talked so much about this dungeon, so it was just business as usual. The only bit that actually got scary was when my mouse disconnected as soon as I started this pack.
Oh no, my mouse died.
I almost pulled a muscle stretching to get that wire. As for the rest of the dungeon, it was pretty clean, so we easily timed it.
So we just hit the 1 hour mark, and we've done a 13 Cinderbrew. We are currently 688 high level. Our score is 3058, and there's no more keys available to do. So I ended up getting a 14 floodgate, which kind of sucks, and I just got declined from that one. So yeah, I mean, I'll try and get into one more key with this 13 minutes left, but it's not looking good, if I'm being completely honest.
We did end up getting invited a few minutes later, but I just want to quickly recap how we got to 668 eye level in such a short time. And honestly, we didn't do anything fancy, just kept spamming as many high level keys as we could so we can craft better gear. Also, just utilising the cartel chip to buy your best in slot gear. The only issue we actually ran into was getting ruined Undermine Crest. But with that out of the way, let's talk about this dungeon. There's not much to say, we've basically already gone over it. I'm just confused how this fucker one-banged me.
What?
We ended up wiping, but the only other death we had was right at the end when my warlock started getting sucked off, and we killed a footman, forcing it to explode and killing him. We timed this key, but with 24 minutes left, it's just not possible to time another. So we ended our journey looking like this. 1 time 14, 6 time 13s, and a goddamn 12. Mechagon is arguably the easiest dungeon too, so it's such a shame we didn't time that on a 13. If only I took my own advice and took it slow. I'm now going to pass it over to Obey for some final thoughts.
This was a nice little challenge. I'm glad I did it. You know, it was kind of fun, but also kind of stressful. And I think that's kind of what you need in this game. It's good to challenge yourself, but this whole series was mainly just for people not to be scared of Mythic Plus, because I've not got much experience on this character. Hell, I even tried a new talent tree. Last season, I was using Deathbringer, so I had to learn a whole new talent tree. Which, to be fair, this talent tree wasn't insane to learn. The only thing that was annoying was because we constantly farmed 7s and 10s and all that, we didn't have the currency, ruined Undermined Crest. So there's a few hero track items like this, and this that I can't level up, mainly because I don't have the currency to do so. I could like go over to this dude and transfer it over, but like I say, that's kind of like not worth it, I think. So yeah, I think if I do this next time, I'll have a better understanding of how that works. So yeah, so there you go. There's the slash played, 2 days, 17 hours, 33 minutes and 39 seconds. It's probably under what we was. Honestly, I can't remember what it was. I probably should have wrote it down, but I'm sure I'll show it in the start of the video and at the end. So
this video took a while to make, so if you made it this far, thank you so much for the support. And as always, if you like the content, subscribe. If you made it this far, we already know you like the content, so subscribe anyway. Like, comment, all of that good stuff. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.